Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're doing something a bit different. We're not just looking at a job description.
No, not at all.
We're aiming for almost like a detailed technical x-ray.
Yeah, of the product manager's mind, specifically in those really high-stakes environments.
And our source material is pretty unique, right? It comes straight from the kind of mock interview questions these big tech companies use.
Exactly. And these aren't just, simple quizzes. They're tough. They're like stress tests.
Stress tests designed to find what?
To really isolate those core skills you need to lead, say, a billion-dollar product. It's intense.
Okay, so that's the key thing. It's not about memorizing answers.
No, not at all. When you really dig into these questions, you see it's all about the process. How do you handle serious ambiguity, real complexity?
Got it. So for you listening, our mission here is basically a shortcut.
That's the plan. We're using these scenarios, these tough questions, to unpack the, let's say, 5 core competencies that really make an effective PM.
And we're not just listing them, we're looking at how they actually play out, the real-world value.
Right. It's the blueprint, really, for high-performance leadership in product.
And you can't just be good at one, can you? You need the whole package.
That's it. You've got to master the whole stack. So our roadmap, we're starting with the numbers side.
Mhm.
Pillar 1, estimation and analytical thinking.
Okay, making calls when you don't have all the data.
Exactly. Then we shift gears a bit. Pillar 2, product design and insight. That's more the creative, user-focused side.
But ideas are useless if you can't build them.
Which brings us straight to Pillar 3, technical understanding. Knowing enough to make smart trade-offs.
Makes sense.
Then there's the people part. Pillar 4, leadership. How do you influence people who don't actually report to you?
The classic PM challenge.
It really is. And finally, the big picture view. Pillar 5, strategic insights. Defining that long-term why.
Okay, let's jump into that first one. Pillar 1, estimation and analytical questions.
This feels like the bread and butter, right? How big is this thing? Should we even do it?
It absolutely is. I mean, think about it. PMs are constantly having to make decisions without all the facts.
Right. No magic dashboard with all the answers.
Exactly. So these analytical questions, they test your ability to, well, to size things up. Is this feature worth it? How many users might we get? What's the potential revenue?
It's about putting some numbers, some scale around an idea.
And giving leadership a sense of your confidence in those numbers. That's crucial.
Okay, so the example our sources give is a classic, maybe a notorious one. How much revenue does Chrome earn for Google?
Ah, yes. That one's tough.
Because Chrome is free, right? So how do you even start?
Well, the difficulty is sort of the point. It's not really about getting the exact number Google has internally.
So what are they looking for?
They're looking at your method, your structure.
Yeah.
Can you defend how you got there? There are 3 main things.
First, can you set up a clear equation, like a basic first principles way to think about it? What actually drives Chrome's value for Google?
So connecting the dots, like search traffic maybe, or ad data.
Precisely. Mapping out those business model connections.
Yeah.
Second, can you pick out the really important variables, the big levers?
Because you can't calculate everything.
Exactly. You have to focus.
Yeah.
Which 1 or 2 things will swing the final number the most? And third, and this is maybe the most critical part,
Yeah.
can you use reasonable assumptions to actually land on a number? A clear, firm answer.
Okay, let's dig into reasonable assumptions. That sounds tricky when you're mostly guessing. What makes an assumption reasonable here?
That's a great question. Reasonable means, well, grounded. Can you base it on something? Public data, common sense, maybe market benchmarks,
Something you can point to.
Yes. And crucially, something you can explain and defend. Like you wouldn't assume 50% market share overnight, right? That's not reasonable. But maybe you assume a growth curve similar to other successful browsers, or you estimate based on Android phone shipments. The key is making your assumptions explicit
So everyone knows where your numbers came from.
and showing how you'd make them better if you had more data or time. That builds confidence.
Now, the source material really hammers this point. The final answer doesn't need to be perfect, but it must have the right scale, the right number of zeros. Why is that so important?
Scale dictates strategy. Simple as that.
How so?
Well, imagine you estimate Chrome brings in, say, $100 million, but the real number is closer to $10 billion.
Whoa, big difference.
Huge. You've completely misunderstood its strategic importance, your whole approach, your resource request, everything will be wrong.
So getting the number of zeros right tells leadership if this is a small project, a division priority, or, core to the entire business.
Exactly. It determines the level of investment, the attention it gets. Get the scale wrong, and your strategic advice is basically useless.
Okay, now let's connect this to the real world. The source mentions this high-stakes exec meeting scenario.
Right. You've done your analysis, built your model for a new feature, maybe a market expansion.
And you're presenting to a VP, someone super busy, they don't have time to check every number in your spreadsheet.
No way.
Yeah.
They're making a call based on trust. Trust in your structure, your logic, your judgment.
So it's about conviction.
Total conviction. Can you clearly lay out the equation? Justify those big assumptions. Defend the scale. If you can do that quickly and confidently, they might sign off on millions of dollars right there.
And if you're shaky, if the structure feels loose or assumptions seem pulled out of thin air,
Then the trust isn't there, the project stalls. They won't commit resources based on flimsy analysis.
and then there's the curveball moment, the exec might have some piece of internal data you didn't.
Oh yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
They might say, actually, our latest numbers show user growth in Asia is way higher than your estimate. How does that change things?
Pressure's on. What does a good PM do?
A good PM with a solid structure doesn't panic. They know exactly where that new data point fits into their model.
Right, they can plug it in.
They adjust that variable, maybe the monetization rate for that region or the market share assumption, and immediately recalculate the impact on the final number.
So it shows flexibility.
Flexibility, exactly. It shows you didn't just build a rigid spreadsheet. You built a model you understand. You integrated new information, kept your confidence, and adapted your recommendation right there on the spot.
That's what proves you're not just crunching numbers, but actually leading with data under pressure.
That adaptability is gold. It builds huge trust.
Okay, that analytical foundation is crucial. But it sets us up for the next big challenge. Pillar 2, product design and insight.
Right. If Pillar 1 was about the how much, this is squarely focused on the what. What should we actually build?
And the key constraint here, according to the sources, is this balancing act. You're constantly juggling three things.
The Holy Trinity, as some call it. User impact, cost, both build and maintain, and strategic fit.
You have to nail all three.
You have to optimize across all three, constantly. Lean too hard on just user wishes. You might build something amazing that costs a fortune or doesn't fit the business.
Or focus only on cost.
And you build something cheap that nobody actually wants or needs. The best PMs live in that tension, finding the sweet spot.
So the interview questions here try to test that holistic view. They seem to fall into two main types.
Yeah, the first is what they call product design focus. It's about taking a really broad, maybe fuzzy challenge and seeing how systematically you break it down.
And the example is great. Design a vending machine for somebody who can't see.
Isn't that brilliant? It immediately strips away all our usual visual assumptions about vending machines.
Right, you can't just show pictures of the snacks.
Exactly. So your process has to start with deep user empathy. Who is this person? What are their challenges? How do they normally interact with the world? What are the pain points with, say, selection, payment, getting the right item?
You have to think about non-visual interfaces.
Totally. What works? Haptic feedback, voice commands, Braille. You start brainstorming solutions for those core problems, selection, payment, retrieval,
And then evaluating them.
evaluating them against feasibility, cost, user need. Maybe voice input solves selection, but you need strong haptic confirmation that the correct item dropped. It's about turning that empathy into a logical, step-by-step product spec.
Focusing on the biggest problems first.
Always. You solve the most critical user needs first.
Okay, then there's the second type, product insight. This uses the same kind of thinking, but applies it to a product that already exists.
Right. The example question is something like, pick a product you know well, explain why it's built the way it is, and how you'd improve it if you were a competitor.
So this needs more than just design thinking. You need some history, some context.
Definitely. You have to think about why a product like, say, Netflix's recommendation engine works the way it does, what are its strengths, but also what are its weaknesses?
And those weaknesses aren't always mistakes, right?
Often not. Sometimes a weakness is the result of technical debt, past choices made for speed that now limit flexibility.
Let's pause on technical debt. What does that really mean for someone maybe less familiar?
Good point. Think of it like taking out a loan. You choose an easy, fast technical solution now, knowing that it's not the best long-term approach.
Okay.
That debt is the extra work, the rework you'll have to do later to fix it or build on top of it. like building a system just for text, then realizing you need video, you've accrued debt.
So when analyzing a product's weaknesses, you need to figure out, is this a conscious trade-off they made, or is it this unavoidable debt biting them?
Understanding that difference is key because it tells you what kind of improvements are realistic or strategically smart.
And thinking like a competitor forces you to look for those strategic openings.
That's the whole idea. A competitor doesn't just copy features. They look for weaknesses maybe caused by that technical debt, or maybe the company's just slow to adapt and they exploit them.
So your proposed improvement needs to be more than just a cool feature.
Oh yeah. It has to show you understand the user need, it has to be technically plausible, and it needs to offer a clear business advantage. How does this hurt the incumbent? How does it win market share?
So whether it's the vending machine or attacking Netflix, the answer needs that clear reasoning across user, tech, and business.
Absolutely. It has to be well-reasoned, hitting all 3 points.
And connecting this back, the sources talk about how this prepares you for the pitch.
Right. That moment where you have a great idea, maybe from that design thinking, and now you need to sell it internally.
Convince your team, your boss, maybe engineering leads.
That this thing is worth their time and the company's resources.
And it often happens fast, right? Like a quick chat over coffee, not a formal presentation.
Exactly. No time for 50 slides. You need to nail the essence immediately. Start with the big problem, who it affects most, the core issue you're solving.
And then the solution tied back to the strategy.
Always tied back to the strategy. Why does this matter for our goals? People will push back. They'll question your priorities. Why this problem? Why now?
You need solid answers, grounded in that user tech business thinking.
You do. And the ultimate test the source mentions is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Can you pitch your idea so clearly and compellingly in that quick chat that the person you're talking to can walk away and accurately pitch your idea to someone else?
Wow. So it needs to be simple, memorable, and logical enough to be passed on.
That's the mark of really effective product communication. If your idea is clear enough to spread like that, it starts building its own momentum. It becomes an organizational priority, not just your pet project.
Okay, moving on to pillar 3, technical questions. This one often feels like a hurdle, especially for PMs without a deep engineering background.
It can definitely be intimidating, but the goal here, as the sources stress, isn't about being an engineer.
Right, you're not writing the code.
No. It's about having enough technical credibility to lead effectively, to influence engineers, and, crucially, to make informed trade-offs.
Why is that credibility so important at, say, Google?
Well, think about the systems. As the source says, they're extremely complicated. Google Search, YouTube, Ads, Cloud. These are massive distributed systems.
Petabytes of data, tiny latency windows.
Exactly. If you don't grasp the fundamentals of how these things work, how can you possibly lead the teams building them? You can't make smart decisions about them.
But can't you just trust the engineers on the tech details?
You trust them to execute, absolutely. But you can't abdicate strategic leadership. Without some technical understanding, you can't realistically estimate timelines. You can't spot when a proposed quick fix is actually digging a deeper technical debt hole.
And you lose that ability to weigh the trade-offs yourself.
Which is maybe the most critical part of the PM job day to day. If you can't speak the language, if you can't engage credibly on the architecture, you lose influence. Engineers won't see you as a strategic partner.
Okay, the example question really drives this home. Tell me about the technical architecture of Stadia. How might it deliver gaming quality over the web?
Yeah, that requires real depth. You need to talk about client-server stuff, network issues, latency, video encoding, the whole infrastructure challenge.
How do you get console-level responsiveness over the internet, which is inherently laggy?
Right. You don't need to write the networking code, but you do need to understand the principles. Why is latency the killer for games? What architectural choices, like edge computing or predictive buffering, can fight that latency?
Understanding the why behind the tech choices.
That's it. And that understanding is what fuels the most important skill here, making those informed trade-offs.
Okay, let's look at that real-life scenario, the trade-off dilemma.
Yeah, this happens constantly. You're discussing a new feature. An engineer lays out two options.
Option A gives the perfect user experience, but it needs major back-end work. Maybe takes 6 months.
Right. Option B is, okay,
Yeah.
it gets the job done, but the UX isn't quite as slick, but it uses the current system, and they can ship it next month.
As the PM, you have to decide. Without tech insight, you're just guessing based on the deadline.
Pretty much. Or just defaulting to what the engineers seem to prefer. The informed PM digs deeper. Why does option A take so much longer? Is that back-end work just cleanup, or is it fundamental for future features?
So is it paying down technical debt or building a foundation?
Exactly. If option A sets you up for the next 5 features because it moves you to microservices, maybe 6 months is a smart investment. But if you choose option B just to ship fast, you might cripple your team's velocity later with the debt you just took on.
So the job is mapping the engineering cost to the actual user benefit or the lack of benefit.
Yes, that's the translation role. If that perfect UX in option A only benefits 1% of power users, but option B is good enough for the other 99%.
Then maybe option B is the smarter call, saving 5 months of engineering time for something else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Unless option B compromises something critical, data security, core performance, accessibility, then the PM needs the technical weight to say, no, we must do option A, even though it's slower, for the long-term health of the product.
It's translating tech specs into business risk and user value.
That's the core skill. Engineers provide technical solutions. The PM translates. Okay, path A means this risk, this reward. Path B means this risk, this reward. Making that choice credibly, based on understanding, dictates the product's future.
Without it, you're just managing tasks, not leading product.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay, that technical credibility is key internally, which leads us nicely into pillar 4, leadership questions.
Right, because it's not just about influencing engineers, it's about the whole organization.
And the big challenge here, the sources really emphasize this, is that PMs at this level almost never directly manage all the people they need to succeed.
That's the fundamental constraint. Your product vision might rely on engineering, marketing, sales, legal partnerships.
And those teams report up through totally different chains of command, different VPs.
Exactly. So you can't just tell them what to do. Your leadership style has to be about influence, not direct authority. Persuasion, negotiation, diplomacy.
So what kind of leadership skills are they testing for?
It's broad. Can you foster teamwork across boundaries? Do you have bias for action? But can you bring people along with you? Are you curious? Can you genuinely understand and balance different, often competing, perspectives?
That bridging role seems critical.
It's vital. You're bridging the customer needs, what users want, what advertisers need, what partners require, with what engineering can actually build. You need to synthesize all these inputs into one coherent direction.
Okay, the example question gets right at this. Tell me about a time you needed another team for a critical project. How did you influence them? What happened?
Yeah, this hits the core issue. How do you get another team, a team that doesn't report to you, a team with its own goals and pressures?
Prioritize your stuff.
Exactly.
What?
Especially when their performance, their bonuses, might be tied to their own objectives.
Let's talk about those objectives. The source mentions OKRs. Maybe quickly define that.
Sure. OKR stands for Objectives and Key Results. It's a common goal-setting framework. The objective is the big, ambitious goal, like become the #1 platform for Y, qualitative. The key results are the specific, measurable steps to get there. Increase user engagement by 20%, launch feature X by Q3, quantifiable.
And teams are measured against hitting their KRs.
Right. So when you need help from another team, you're effectively asking them to spend time on your objective, potentially taking away time from hitting their measurable key results. It's a tough sell.
Which brings us to the real-life scenario, the blocked OKR.
The nightmare scenario, your big VP-level objective, absolutely depends on an integration from a partner team.
But they say, sorry, no bandwidth this quarter. We're slammed working on our own OKRs.
Now what? This is pure organizational leadership. You can't pull rank.
So what's the first step? Yelling doesn't work.
No, definitely not. First step is curiosity. Genuine curiosity. Why are they blocked? Talk to them. Understand their priorities, their constraints. Is it staffing? Are they drowning in their own technical debt? Did their boss give them a different top priority?
Empathy and info gathering first.
Always. Then you move into influence mode. How can you make this a win-win? The best way is to show how helping you also helps them achieve their OKRs.
Find the overlap.
Find the overlap. If we build this integration together, it unlocks this new user segment, which will help you hit your engagement KR. Something like that.
What if there's no direct overlap?
Then you might need to trade, offer resources. Look, I know you're stretched. What if one of my engineers helps build the API monitoring for this integration? Takes work off your plate.
Using your team's resources as currency.
Sometimes you have to.
Oh.
Or you escalate the framing. Show how your objective failing actually hurts a larger company goal that both your VPs care about. Make it about shared success or shared risk.
So it's about negotiation, finding common ground, maybe internal bartering.
Diplomacy, strategic alignment, negotiation, all of it. You're basically conducting an orchestra where you don't directly manage any of the musicians.
But you need them all playing the same tune, on time.
That's the job. If you can't influence those other teams, your brilliant strategy or design just sits on the shelf. This pillar tests if you can actually drive execution across that complex org chart.
Which brings us to the final pillar, Pillar 5. Strategic insights. We've sized it, designed it, figured out how to build it, how to lead the teams. Now what?
Now the why. This is the highest level. It's about defining the product's long-term direction, its reason for being.
And communicating that complex stuff simply, especially to senior leadership.
Exactly. Articulating a clear strategy, driving it, but also adapting it as the market shifts, as competitors react.
What kind of knowledge does this require?
You need a solid grasp of business fundamentals. How does the company actually make money? What are our sustainable advantages? Basic economic supply, demand, competition. You're not just thinking about features, you're thinking about the entire market landscape.
The example question here is maybe the ultimate strategic test. Why did Google build Chrome?
Perfect example. A good answer isn't about technical details like faster JavaScript.
No, it's bigger than that.
It's about the whole ecosystem back in, 2008. You have to talk about the market opportunity. Internet Explorer had a stranglehold. Innovation was slow.
Okay.
Then, the strategic ties to Google's core business. Google lives on search and ads. They needed a fast, open, reliable way for people to access the web and thus access Google. Relying on Microsoft's browser was a huge strategic risk.
So Chrome was defensive, protecting the core search revenue.
Partly defensive, partly proactive, ensuring the web evolved in a way that was good for Google services. You also need to mention customer needs. Users were frustrated with slow browsers. And external factors like controlling web standards via Chromium and the open source angle.
It's a multi-layered strategic answer.
It has to be. And this connects directly to what the source calls one of the PM's most important jobs.
Which is?
Making sure the team, everyone working on the product, understands what to build, for whom, and critically, why it matters.
That why, again, the strategic context.
It's the North Star. If the team understands the strategic why, they make better decisions every single day. They know which trade-offs align with the strategy and which don't.
Okay, let's look at the real-life test. The prototype launch scenario.
Right. So you've built a prototype. Maybe it came out of that design thinking process. And internally, everyone loves it. Solves a real problem. Users are raving in early tests.
Sounds great. Ship it.
Not so fast. The question isn't just, is it good?
Yeah.
The strategic question is, should we launch it? And if so, which market do we target first, and how do we win long term?
Beyond the initial excitement, can it last?
Exactly. Enthusiasm is great, but you need a sustainable competitive advantage. How do you build a moat around this thing?
What constitutes a real moat, strategically speaking?
There are a few classics. Network effects are huge. Does the product get better for everyone as more people use it? Think social networks, marketplaces. Very hard for a competitor to replicate that.
Okay, what else?
A data moat. Are you gathering unique data that lets you train better AI, provide smarter recommendations, create a fundamentally better experience that competitors simply can't match because they don't have the data?
Like Google Search's data advantage.
Precisely. And third, maybe a distribution advantage. Can you push this product to millions, maybe billions of users instantly because you own the platform, like Apple bundling apps on iOS or Google with Android?
So if your awesome prototype doesn't have a path to one of these moats, if a competitor can just copy the feature easily,
then you haven't built a strategy, you've just built a feature. It might be a great feature, but it's probably not a sustainable business on its own.
So this pillar is about ensuring the PM isn't just delivering features, but designing an actual defensible business.
Yes. Proving that this product deserves sustained investment because it has a real strategic rationale and a path to long-term defensible success.
Wow. Okay, so we've gone through all 5 pillars: estimation, design, technical, leadership, strategy. What's the big takeaway when you put them all together?
The big takeaway is how interconnected they are. They weren't separate skills you'd dip into. They form one cohesive whole.
Like interlocking gears.
Exactly. Your analysis tells you the scale is this worth doing. Your design finds the right solution for users and the business. Your technical knowledge tells you if it's feasible and what it really costs.
Leadership is how you rally the troops you don't control.
Right. And strategy provides the overall direction, the why, that guides everything else.
And if one pillar is weak, the whole thing kind of wobbles.
It really does. A brilliant strategist who can't lead is just an academic. A great technical mind without strategic insight might build amazing things nobody needs. A fantastic leader with poor analytical skills might charge confidently in the wrong direction.
So this whole deep dive, it wasn't really just about interviews.
No, the interviews are just the assessment tool. This is about the fundamental toolkit for leading complex products, especially when things are uncertain, fast-moving, high pressure.
It shifts the view of the PM from just, like, managing a backlog.
To being a holistic business owner, a strategist, an organizational leader, all rolled into one, making these tough, multifaceted decisions constantly.
We kept coming back to that strategic why, ensuring the team knows what to build, for whom, and why it matters.
That clarity is everything. It aligns effort, it simplifies decisions, it motivates people.
So let's leave the listener with something to chew on based on that.
Okay. Here's a final thought for you to consider this week. Think about the main project you're working on right now. If your team, your boss, anyone, only had time to ask you one question about it, and that question was, why? Could you answer it?
And not just a surface answer.
No. Could you articulate the deep why? Could you clearly link it to the bigger strategy? Could you explain its specific competitive advantage, why you will win? And could you do it so clearly, so compellingly, that the person hearing it could turn around and confidently pitch that same why to their own boss?
That's the real test of strategic clarity. Can you nail the why?
Can you truly nail the why? Something to think about.